Hi guys, and welcome to what will probably be the final video in the Knight Titan construction series. I'm just going to show you off the last parts of what I've done and just give my my overall thoughts on the build and how it all went. What I would what I would change, what I was happy with. So what we've got at the moment is, just for ease of access, I've just got the legs here. The tabard is all attached. This might be a slightly fragile area on your model if you plan on moving it around a lot. I think this is probably going to be on my shelf for the most part, rather than wrapped up in a case or anything. So I'm not too worried about that at this point. If it breaks, I'll fix it. No big deal. Why I wanted to have these separate is just to show you a little bit about what I have planned for the base. I'm not going to include that as part of the sort of build video, just because how you do your own base is your own thing, and I haven't really decided how I'm going to do that yet. So rather than hum and ha about it, I'll just do that on my own time, as it were. So what we've got is the base. And I've just marked out the footprint of the Titan, so I know where it's going to stand. And I've just shaded in a couple of areas where the front of the feet are going to be, because what I'm planning on doing there is drilling in and putting in some magnets, probably using some 6mm magnets. I'm waiting for those to arrive, funnily enough. So once I've got that sorted out, I'll be able to figure out that the rest of the area can be covered with like debris and dirt and dust and things like that, like I've done with some of my other models. My Death Dread here, for example, has got some rocks and dirt for the planet that I base my conflicts on, and also the body of a slain marine with appropriate woundage and things like that. So I'll probably take my time and do something similar with my Knight Titan, although the casualties will probably be Orcs or Dark Elder or whatever other armies I feel like using for that sort of thing. Might want to use some cast-off ruin vehicles and things like that. That's going to be the base work for this. And on the other side of the feet, there wasn't really a good solid base to be able to attach this, because these parts are hollow. So what I did was I mixed up some of the milliput, which is just your 2-part epoxy. Just cut off a chunk of each of the 2 bonding agents, rub it all together, and that will dry in 3 or 4 hours. So I've used that in the base of the feet here, and then I'm going to be able to drill into those and put magnets in for multiple configurations, and they should hopefully be able to slot on the base very solidly, but for movement purposes and moving the model around, I again should just be able to lift it off, and that should be quite convenient rather than having everything on the solid base all the time. Might be overdoing it, might be overthinking it, but if I try it out and it works, then that's cool. That works for me. So just moving on to the torso section, which is now finished and together. The only part that's not glued at the moment is the this top carapace, because I just want to keep that clear for if I have to do anything with the magnets underneath. I did consider magnetizing the carapace to the bottom. I may still do that. It just seems like it's a little unnecessary thing, but it could be fun. It could work. The arms. I've been talking a little bit about the arms and how sort of floppy they were. So I went in with the Pledge floor polish with Future Shine, and I daubed some in the joints and let that sit overnight, and now that has inward and outward movement. Same on this side, just a little bit of inward and outward movement. and you still have the rotation there, so you can get it set up as you want. The shoulder pieces I painted up, starting with a base coat of black, then putting grey down on the white side, and then just building it up slowly. Naturally I did it backwards and I had the white in the wrong position, so I had to go back and redo that. And it's, you know, what happens when you don't pay attention. And I've also gone over with some varnish, just a little bit of shiny varnish, so when I decide to put some decals on here, that'll have a smooth surface and it just adds a little bit of shine to it. I'm thinking I might do a bit of weathering on the top, especially where these engine smokestacks are. You can imagine all the smoke bellowing from out here. You'd end up with discoloration over the model, so I'll probably get a large dry brush and just put in some blackened soot effects around there. I hate to just dirty it up right now when it's shiny. I've put the Imperial Aquila on the top. You had a choice of whether you wanted to put an Aquila or the Mechanicum symbol, and I've gone with the bright gold Imperial Aquila. And as I showed off last time, I've got the magnet underneath, and he now has a chest plate with the name Imperial on there, written in a fancy handwritten font, which really isn't fancy handwritten. It just kind of looks a little bit neat. And yeah, now the one thing I didn't realize until I'd sort of put everything and glued it together was that once the shoulder pads are on, there's not really much movement to get the arms back in. It requires a little bit of flexing, and it was a little bit jittery for a minute. So if you're unsure about that, I would recommend leaving the shoulder pads off until the arms are on, or you could pin them using paper clips, or you could magnetize them if you want. There's plenty of room on the strut to do that if you wanted. I glued it on and then let it dry, and then thought, oops, I probably should have put the arms on first. But as it was, they got in there without any damage or anything. So, but I will just pass on that little nugget of wisdom. So, putting it together. Just like that. Position these however you want on the battlefield. The hunched over look doesn't sort of look impressive from that angle, but when you're on the tabletop and you can see it sort of glaring over everything, it looks kind of neat. So I'll just lift that up. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out overall. There's a few things that I'm kind of less than pleased with that I would like to adjust, or if I was doing again, I would make a few changes. So I'll give you a brief rundown on that little checklist next. Alright, pros and cons. What did I like? What would I change? Well, it's a good kit. I do like the kit, I do like the build. As I've said before, this was a recast, so it's not a first-hand property. Why did I do that? Why did I go with that option? I think the kit's neat, but I don't think it's $180 Canadian neat. You can get way more bang for your buck with other things. I just think the pricing is a bit ludicrous. And I just wanted to see what the resin was like. Having never worked with it before, I was curious to see if it actually stand up under pressure, and it's not bad. The only parts that have given me any real cause for concern are the railing pieces. These parts along here, which were just a little bit warped, but they're so thin that I was really reluctant to do a lot with them. As it was, I just heated them up a little bit with a hairdryer, just bent them back into shape, scraped them down a little bit. But those were the only parts that sort of looked like they might have been a little miscast. So yeah, good kit for the $70 that I paid for it. I would be satisfied with that. If Games Workshop released it for that amount, I would be more than happy to get one or two or more, but not for 180. That's my big beef with Games Workshop, and I'm not going to go into a big rant about all of that, all the pros and cons. That's what I've done. So you can agree or disagree. My focus is mainly on the build and how it all went together. As far as the kit goes, pretty intuitive. Once you can sort of set aside the little greebly parts. There were a couple of parts on the legs with the struts. And there we go, the tip bar just came off, no big deal. The struts there, I wasn't quite sure how they went together at first. I had to refer to the instructions a few times for that. Everything else has been pretty good. As you saw on the playlist there, I've been able to do a lot of dry fitting, see how everything goes together. Things have been aligned quite well, so that's all been quite good. I don't have the original plastic kit to compare it with. I am considering picking one of those up at some stage, and I'd be interested to see just what the difference is like. I've found that resin can be quite tricky to work with, just in terms of the cleaning and scraping down and getting rid of flash lines. I think the flash lines on here were actually pretty good. I think there were lots of parts that could have had flash lines and didn't. But the parts that did have them had very big ones, like on the shoulder pads, on parts of the legs. And they required a bit of work, a bit of care. These, again, the railings, they were scary, getting the flash off there without having everything break, because the resin's quite brittle. But no, putting it together hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be. I would like to try my hand at some of the other more notorious kits, like maybe a Storm Eagle. I know that the Forge World ones seem to come out quite warped, and I'd just be interested in trying my hand at something like that. The paints and painting. By and large, I was very happy with how the metallics turned out, with the weathering and the dirtying up and all of that sort of thing. Not so happy with how the reds and the whites came out, and that is possibly due to the paints that I have. I have some older paints which have always tended to show the brush marks. Like, you water it down a little bit and it's too watery and gets splotchy, you thicken it up and then it shows a lot of the brush marks. The newer paints may eliminate that. I'm not sure, I haven't sort of stocked up for a while. But especially the red and the white can be a bit tricky too, I found. Was very blotchy, so I had to go over with a bit of sandpaper here and there and tidy that up, clean it back a little bit. So yeah, I would love to get my hands on an airbrush for bits like that. I just think the smooth finish would have worked really well. Magnets have worked a treat. I am not disappointed with how any of that has worked. I think that's a good decision to be able to swap out the guns, to be able to take the waist apart for movement and dynamic posing. For a centerpiece model like that, I think it's worth doing. Honestly, I would probably do it for smaller models as well, but that's kind of the part of me that likes action figures and things like that as well. So I like to add a little bit of posability and dynamics to the models. But yeah, that's worked out quite well. I was a little unsure about how it was going to work with the resin, drilling into it and doing all that sort of thing. Just took my time, took it slow, and that all seemed to work out pretty nicely. So I'm happy with how that's all turned out. So would I recommend it? Yeah, I kind of would. If you're interested in building models for the sake of building models, I'd say yeah, no, it's been quite fun. Will I get some use out of it? I might do. I don't play a lot of 40k these days, but I could see myself fielding this along with my Ultramarines in order to square it up against my Orc Stomper to see how that would fare. In fact, I'll probably do a battle report this weekend not on video, unfortunately, but just see how things go. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with how it turned out overall. The pros and cons, as I've outlined. Would I build another one? Yes. Yes, I think I would quite happily build another one, but not right now. I've taken my time with this, been documenting everything as I've sort of felt like getting things done. And yeah, I think it's time to take a break from that, and maybe I'll work on a few smaller models until I decide what my my next project is going to be. So, I hope you found this series informative. If you have any questions or queries, please feel free to comment. This is me sharing my enjoyment of the hobby, and hoping that it might be of some help to somebody out there who's looking at doing a similar build. So, until next time, this is Stephen the Mad-Dok signing out. You guys have a great time with your hobby, and I hope that you get enjoyment out of the gaming, the modelling, the painting, whatever gives you fun. So take it easy guys, and we'll see you next time.